I would like to welcome everybody officially to episode 41. We are now older than 40, this whole virtual boozy brunch family. But life really doesn't start till 50s, right, Claire? I mean, like.
Yes, that's what I'm told, Belinda.
Amazing. So the theme of this episode
It's true.
The theme of this week's episode is TRIMBACH, baby. And we have Anne with an A for anybody who watches Anne of Green Gables on Netflix. I don't know. I just thought that was sort of funny. This is Virtual Boozy Brunch, and we have a beautiful image of Ribeauvillé and the TRIMBACH winery. We have some more people joining us right now. We do have a couple of viewing suggestions. If you haven't done it this way, give it a try. So right now we do have a slide up of the beautiful TRIMBACH winery. You can actually change your view from speaker view to gallery, so you can see lots of faces. And then you can use a little slider between the TRIMBACH image and all the faces and slide it so that image is really small and all of our faces are really large. That's the way I like to enjoy Virtual Boozy Brunch. But of course, you can enjoy it in any way you like. I mean, Claire, let's do this.
Yay!
Yay! So fun. So we have a great team as we do every single week. Sarah is in charge of putting these slides forward. Claire Paparazzo is my co-host. We have Megan Appleman as a co-host today too, and all kinds of familiar faces. Anne, showed this slide last week, but this was the very first episode of Virtual Boozy Brunch that we did in March of last year. And the very first wine that I brought to taste with everyone, we had a ton of people. It was so much fun. This very first episode was TRIMBACH Pinot Blanc, because it was just screaming at me that it needed to be consumed and shared with all of these friends from all over the world. So that was episode 1. And now we have you at episode 41. So we're pretty excited about that. Okay, so if you're not checking belindachang.com every day, I mean, what are you doing with your time? We just have one little commercial announcement today, and that's that we're hosting all kinds of super fun stuff. Claire referenced the Rice University Alumni Gala, which was last week. We did 5 events last week, so it was just amazing. But there are a couple of fun things. If you let me know today, we do have some people here joining us for the Saks Fifth Avenue, Vino, and Velmont at the end of the week, which is going to be so cool. I mean, that is a luxe virtual experience where we're going to do all of the $1 million skincare together and eat caviar and drink wine. It's gonna be so much fun. And then the next big one that I'm super excited about is the Penfolds Lunar New Year. So we'll have Arthur Hahn and myself, a winemaker from Penfolds, and you can buy a little kit to make black truffle soup dumplings with us. So that's really fun. So keep an eye on all the offerings on belindachang.com. You know, if you're bored, you want to do a little luxury situation for yourself or for friends or clients, we're doing all of the really cool stuff. All right, so as I mentioned, I have 2 gorgeous, smart, fabulous co-hosts today. One is the ever amazing Claire Paparazzo, who's coming live to us from Alsace. There she is in her beautiful vineyard shot. And we also have Dr. Megan Appleman in that image there, getting her, I think that's her 2nd vaccine shot. So, you know, we love having her here with us. Such an amazing spirit and a great food and wine lover. So you'll hear from both of them. And I think I'm about to turn it over, aren't I? To you, Claire?
You can turn it over. Belinda, I just want to say thank you for creating this safe space for us all to connect. We are at episode 41. I didn't join you from the beginning, but now I wish I had. And this is wonderful. So I'll take a moment to kind of recap where we were last week on episode 40, which was so much fun. So Shauna Davis and her company, which is Epicurean Connection in Sonoma. I am a huge fan. We got to make homemade ricotta cheese on your show, Belinda Chang. That was so much fun. I've been having so many amazing meals, and I'm pumped because in 2021, we learned how to make cheese. Fabulous.
The homemade stuff tastes totally different. And so
I love it. Yes, very special. Please watch. Now, I don't know if he needs an introduction again. Dan Adut. So he has an amazing podcast called Green Eggs and Dan. It's the #1 food podcast rated by everyone that knows what's right, because he's so hysterical. We love him. You can catch him on Cobra Kai. He is missing us this week, but he will be back soon because he really loved being on Virtual Boozy Brunch.
I mean, Claire, I've also, for those who haven't, he's got that podcast. I've been listening to it almost every day. I'm trying to catch up. I want to hear all of them. He had Ruth Reichel on his podcast last episode.
You need to listen to. He's so funny, and we need to get him back and kind of look in your fridge, Belinda, because I want a true assessment here. We'll get him back.
Megan, I'm going to turn it over to you for what we should be ready for today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So Belinda, I haven't hosted in a while and I almost forgot that I was unmuted. The whole time you were talking about your experiences coming up, I was like, ooh, I was like, oh no, you gotta be quiet. So this week is really exciting. I'm really excited. Generally, I tend to be a little bit more of a white wine girl. So all sauce is like my jam. I literally hardly know anything about wine, except from like what I've learned here at Boozy Brunch over the past 41 weeks. But I have actually been to Alsace, which is one of the only places I've ever been wine touring. So I'm really, really excited about this week. Belinda and Claire are going to start off by introducing us to another pair of tasty wines. And then Anne Trimbach, the first female face of the Trimbach family winery, is here all episode. And she's going to be teaching us about Alsatian wines, dazzling us with a little bit of girl power, and then sharing her amazing decadent family choucroute recipe. So I have like 6 pounds of pork over here. Thanks so much, Belinda. I'm really excited to crack into that. And we're gonna have a really like decadent, delicious meal for later. So let me pass it back over to Belinda for our wines.
Yay! Okay, so of course, this production team that we've created, Sari and Mark and Claire and myself, and now Sydney Converse and Anya, they're really amazing because I never do anything in order. I rarely ever do anything the same way twice. So Mark, we're totally out of order right now, as per usual. There is a list of what I'm supposed to do, and I really never follow it. So we're gonna highlight a couple people right now because we like to do a little question every time we get started. So we'd like to hear answers from a couple of you. So part of why I love Alsace so much and the Trimbach Winery and the family story so much is because I feel like they're so spectacular at food and wine pairing, right? This is one of the first places that I traveled to where they really get the white wine with meat thing right, whereas a lot of us learn that you're supposed to do red wine with meat. So I'd love to hear from a couple people. We put you on screen. We're gonna ask you to unmute about maybe like the most interesting wine and food pairing you've done over the pandemic that you're shocked worked, but worked. What do you think? Daniela, or just something that was so delicious together that it made you feel good? Has there been a great sort of pairing that you've done at home?
Yeah, you know, I just found a bottle of Cerasuolo, Cerasuolo di Abruzzo, which is something that I generally don't drink just because I never really knew much about it. And I love rosés. I love rosatos of every hue. And so I tried that one. And I have to say it was so interesting because it was also kind of funky and earthy and reminded me of, you know, like a skin contact, you know, white. Yeah. So it was super interesting. And I found that it just, you know, we just had snacks for dinner and it worked with kind of everything, which was really, really fun.
That's a good find. I love that. Okay, Morgan Olson, I know that you've been supporting all these sommeliers and their wine cellars and having really fun like kits and delivery and to go. Has there been sort of a really memorable wine and dish that you've had during this pandemic journey?
I was hoping you'd ask me, Belinda, because my latest discovery that's like kind of funky and fun is buffalo wings and Lambrusco. So
that's a great one.
Something, you know, you only discover when you're holed up at home eating buffalo wings and sifting through your fridge, but it's fantastic.
I feel like that also works whether you're a buffalo wings with ranch or a buffalo wings with blue cheese dressing person.
And I'm both, so.
I love that. Okay, Kruti, I know that you've been cooking at home and you've been doing all kinds of fun stuff. Have there been any sort of eye-opening or interesting pairings going on in your home?
From Boozy Brunch?
So you liked all the pairings we've done here?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I made a
I was like really craving sauerkraut a couple months ago, and I had a bunch in my fridge and I wanted pizza. So I put a bunch of sauerkraut on pizza and it was amazing.
Sauerkraut, I mean, and that's like a, you know, tarte flambée, right? I mean, the good pizza comes from Alsace in my mind.
It's, I would say it is so different from pizza, and I'm not sure an Italian would like the compliment the other way.
Better. Amazing. Thanks, Kurti. I love it. Okay, gang. So many of us, have some beautiful bottles of TRIMBACH wines. If you purchase one from Wine Access, thank you. They actually have the TRIMBACH Pinot Noir in my Belinda's brunch page, but there are many places to get these TRIMBACH wines because frankly, I've never read like a magazine article or a book, you know, by Hugh Johnson or Robert Parker or anyone where they say the top 100 wines of the universe or the top 100 most important wines or top 100 most important wine families. Like the TRIMBACH name is always included in all of those lists, all of those books, all of those articles. So I feel as if you couldn't go wrong, no matter what you brought to taste with us today. But, you know, I spoke with Anne and we thought it would be most interesting to talk about Pinot Gris, Gewürztraminer, those two, because maybe they're a little more off the beaten path for most people. And then also Pinot Noir. So Anne, do you want to start us off and talk a little bit about Pinot Gris and Gewürztraminer from TRIMBACH and how those sort of like fit into wine drinking life?
Absolutely, yes. So yes, my name is Anne TRIMBACH. I'm representing the 13th generation of this wonderful wine family. We've been in Alsace, in the middle of Alsace, for almost 400 years, and we do produce lots of Riesling, but also some Pinot Gris and Gewürztraminer. And it's true that maybe we are, first thing you think about TRIMBACH maybe is Riesling, but there are other grape varieties that grow extremely well in our region. So we have, I have Pinot Gris in my glass because I like it just on its own by itself, or when it comes to food, it's magical as well. Pinot Gris is a mutation of Pinot Noir. So basically it comes originally from Burgundy, and we've planted Pinot Gris for many, many years. And it's what we call I don't know how to say in English, but the easy one that goes with everything, from a bit of Asian spices to creamy cheeses, from salmon, tuna, fat fishes or trout, to white meats and mushrooms. It should go quite well with choucroute as well because it's pork and it should work. We say Riesling and choucroute are like perfect matches, but I hear all the time that either Gewürz or Pinot Gris could match as well. So it will be a first try for me as well tonight. And it's my first choucroute as well.
Oh my God, Anne TRIMBACH.
Because my mom makes it so well. Never tried. So it's a first experience, a Zoom cooking live with the first choucroute of my life.
Listen, everyone, you are here to witness history in the making with Anne TRIMBACH. Anne, can you just talk about, for those who are not, you know, big Alsace drinkers yet, we're going to convert them. What are the sort of most important grapes of the region in general? And then, you know, how do you distinguish the differences between them or decide, you know, what is for when?
Sure. Many things to say now. So Alsace is a very small wine region, as you know already probably, but at the border with Germany. Northeast located, dry in the summer, dry in the winter, semi-continental microclimates, very cold, at least today, and snowy, and warm in the summer. 7 different major grape varieties. Of course, new ones have been added, not under the Alsace regulation, but they are new tries, if I can say. Mostly Pinot Blanc and Auxerrois because they are used a lot for bubbles, for crémant, which we don't produce actually. Riesling, of course, the king of Alsace. Pinot Gris, Gewürztraminer, Muscat, and Pinot Noir more and more For us, not so much, and it's been only 50 years or so that we've been producing Pinot Noir, and it represents maybe 6% of our total production. Riesling at home, it's the king. It's 50% of our production. It's the driest, the purest, the finest white grape in the world to us. The most elegant, the one you can make, maybe not a classic Riesling, but a great Riesling from Grand Cru, so great vineyard, can age for 20, 30, 40 years. Of course, terroir is very important in our region as well, and not only grapes, 13 different types of terroir. And of course, every grape speaks differently on every terroir, and Gewürztraminer is the most aromatic one, extremely well known, but people are very much afraid of it because of the name, because of wheat. It can be very, very exuberant and very aromatic. And of course, you are afraid what to pair with this wine. And there are actually many, many pairings to do with this wine, but we don't always think about it. Even dry Gewürz with a steak tartare with lots of spices, it works so well.
Oh, that sounds so good. Yeah.
For another Zoom, maybe.
Yeah, right. I think too, you know, and so like Americans in general, there's been many years people are afraid of Riesling, right? Because maybe they picked up a German Riesling, or maybe, hi mom and dad, you know, the lead from milk, you know, the Blue Nun kind of thing. It wasn't the highest quality and wasn't as delicious, but like, I love Alsace wines, especially from a very classic estate where I feel like your estate, the TRIMBACH winery in the family, like it's very OG, original gangster, and you do dry styles of wine. There's no funky stuff going on. You do sweet wines, but then they're labeled that, you know, it's going to be a sweet style. So these are all really designed for food, from the Riesling to the Pinot Gris to the Gewürztraminer. Okay, so hopefully if you had Pinot Gris, everybody's had a little taste of that. So, and for a quality Pinot Gris, what are some of the sort of aromas and flavors that people should find?
Should find in the one I am drinking, which is exactly the same as you, probably, maybe not you, Belinda, but the other people. I just don't have the same label because we label it with a classic label in France. But voilà, exactly what Claire is showing is what it's the label we use for the US. By tradition, it's a label from the 90s.
That wine is always like so good, so consistent, so delicious. Mm-hmm.
I have wine. It's usually we say fruity in terms of yellow fruits, peaches, apricots, and of course in terms of aromatics you can also add this touch of smokiness, which would eventually remind people of some wood, but it's not. It's just from the grape variety naturally, and of course, the texture is not like Riesling. You have a bit of creaminess that you won't always have in the Riesling, not like that, and much less acidity. So it's a pleasant wine to drink. It's easy on its own, and it really matches different kinds of food. You go to the restaurant, you want a white. Everybody has a different dish. Pinot Gris usually is the one that does the job, if I can say. And yes, opulent, creamy, and our Pinot Gris is bone dry, or not bone dry, but at least as dry as possible, clean finish, dry finish as it should be in our point of view when it comes to food pairings, actually.
I feel like for all the, you know, Claire, you probably saw this too, in New York during normal times, there's all the ladies who lunch and they drink gallons of Sancerre, right? Because they know that Sancerre or Fumé is going to be bone dry. But I always would try to make them drink other things, right? I feel like, let's try this Alsace Pinot Gris. It's going to be so good with your menu, so good with your salad or your tuna or whatever, you know, and I thought that was a good alternative. Okay, Anne, this one, I'm so excited that you were open to talking about Gewürztraminer a little more deeply, because I think Gewürztraminer scares a lot of people, right? I mean,
really. It does. I'll always remember when I traveled to the US for the very first time more than 12 years ago with my uncle Jean TRIMBACH, who is as you know,
he's a legend. He's a legend.
He's a legend, yes. He took me to Washington, D.C. and Boston back in 2008. And we entered a wine shop that was already a customer from TRIMBACH. And there's this one lady coming in and she's like, oh, I'm looking for a wine. It starts with a J and it has 13 letters. I call it J13 because I don't know how to say it.
Oh
And
my
Jean
God.
turns back and says, Gewürztraminer to her. And she's like, yes. So she bought a bottle of our Gewürztraminer while we were selling some wine to this person. And I always remember this story. So the unpronounceable Gewürztraminer, right?
Yes.
Such a beautiful wine when it's well made. But it's like everything. You can have very bad, whatever it is. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's well made, disciplined, balanced, then you have yes, you can enjoy.
Do you
Of
think
course,
people are scared of it, Anne, because other producers leave too much residual sugar? Why is it so fraught in some ways for, like maybe because it's so, it has opulent perfume always, right? Like
always, yes.
it smells amazing.
It does, yes.
I love that it's highly aromatic, but I think that's when people smell it, they perceive it to be sweet. When it's two different things, especially with yours, it's dry, but highly aromatic, and it ticks off all the notes, right, Belinda? It's just like the full expression just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Because it's one where you can really also identify the aromatic notes. A lot of the wines you smell it and you're like, oh, it smells nice, but it's sort of hard to say what you're smelling in the glass. Okay, I see Mark and Dustin getting down and dirty with a glass of wine. What are you smelling there?
Well, actually, Anne, I had a quick question for you. I wanted your opinion on what are your feelings on cork versus screw top, because I know you use both.
Now we do, yes. We got equipped on the bottling line, and we had lots of requests for Pinot Blanc or for Riesling, not only from the US or UK, but also from Sweden, Norway. Some people have completely accepted the screw cap, and it's not a big deal. And I believe in screw caps, like in corks. Actually, you have for wines of every day that you don't keep 40 or 50 years, I don't see why we couldn't do screw caps.
Yeah.
For cork wines, I'm positive that it ages well as well, but it's not as sexy as a real cork. This is just the charisma of the cork and the way you open a bottle when you want to keep it a long time. I want a cork on the bottle, not a screw cap.
Always ask a French woman, because you'll get like the best sounding response, right? And you did so great. Yes, screw cap, or yes, cork. So I smell this Gewürztraminer, and I think it has some of the hallmarks of what you're supposed to look for when you're blind tasting or smelling a Gewürztraminer. Megan, I saw your nose in that Gewürz. Tell us what you think of the aromas. Have you had a Gewürztraminer before?
I have had one Gewürztraminer before, but it was not a Alsatian Trimbach Gewürztraminer. It was like a Michigan from a not very nice winery. So this is actually only the second time I've ever had one. And this is, hands down better. Yeah, I kind of agree with Claire. When you first pour it, when you first smell it, it feels like it's going to be like a really sweet wine. But then you taste it and it's really fruity, and it's like so much nicer than what I expect it to be, because I'm not big into sweet wines, and I've kind of been scared off of them since college. But I don't have great wine words, but it tastes really full, and it feels very complete, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't feel like it cuts off too short, like it feels complete, and it's really nice.
It's beautiful. It should be a candle. Amanda, what do you think?
Well, Anne, I've been loving your wines literally for decades. When I used to be in the restaurant business a long time ago, and when I didn't really, not that I even know anything now, but I didn't know anything then, but I always used to say that the Trimbach wines reminded me, and I mean this as a huge compliment, so don't take it as not a compliment, but I used to call it gummy bear wine, because I'm a huge Haribo aficionado, and the wines, although they do have some sweetness, they do have like a little bit of tart or a little bit of other elements that can stand up to food. So I agree, like they're great for food. And I've always loved Gewürztraminer. It's one of my faves. But this Pinot Gris might like take its place. So thank you for making some great, delicious wines.
And so Amanda, I met Amanda when she was a part of the Wolfgang Puck sort of Spago group. She was a general manager of the one here, and now she actually directs a lot of wine drinking, I feel like, for Mariano's.
I saw a lot of
We love it all. Okay, so before we move on to choucroute, because I don't know, I'm feeling happy over here, Claire, Megan, and Amanda, like I've had a little wine, I'm ready to get some food going. Amanda, Anne, can you tell us a little bit about Pinot Noir at TRIMBACH?
So maybe one of the newest grape at the winery, but when I say new, 40, 50, close to 50 years probably today. But a small production, and we produce 2 Pinot Noir. We produce 7 or 8 different Rieslings, but only 2 Pinot Noir, one in very small volume that you get in the US because you've been our best export market for, I said it the other day, 40 plus years ago, we started with the US. And a reserve that you might have with you right now, Pinot Noir Reserve, which comes from different vineyards in the, let's say, the middle of Alsace, and harvested at the right time, of course, perfectly ripe, not overripe. And then we do a short maceration of a good week, let's say, in a stainless steel tank. And we destemp all the grapes. And then, of course, after this maceration, they go down in the cellar by gravity. In everything, the juice goes down by gravity into the cellar and in stainless steel again. No wood at all, not a hint of wood, to preserve the fruitiness, the purity, the characters of the grape and the Alsace region, let's say. And also because we don't know how to work with new woods. We've never done that for any of our grapes. So
why do you want to fight with everyone for the new barrels? Forget it. You know, you've been around for 400 years. Just do the old.
We have very old barrels. Sometimes it goes in wood, but it's neutral today. It's been the oldest one from the winery is from 1717. So of course it is 100% neutral, no more taste of wood.
I think, Anne, this is like a decidedly classic take on Pinot Noir, right? You know, so much of what we drink is like not just new barrels, but like toasted within an inch of their life, right? Like seasoned, crazy. I mean, this is so clear and clean, which I think is a quality of your wines. They're like crystalline and concise and precise in a beautiful way. Like this is exactly what Pinot Noir is, which I think is so fantastic. I'm actually pretty excited to do the choucroute and have white and red open, right? Because the traditional, of course, to do Riesling or Pinot or something, but we've got Pinot Noir as an option too to keep.
Absolutely, and there's no rule when I do wine dinners, especially in the US. I expect people, if there is a choucroute, to put a Pinot Noir with it, because I know that at some point you like a little bit of red wine in your dinner. And so I've tried Pinot Noir and choucroute, and Pinot Noir has a nice acidity, so it will work with the dish. Of course, there's meat, potatoes, voila.
Good. Okay, so we're all ready. We've got our, you know, our pork in many different forms and our sausages. So Sherry, if you would put the other slide up for just a second. I was so lucky to go to Alsace a few years ago and spend a week there as an ambassador, because I was working at the Modern in New York City at the time, and we had one of the biggest sellers of Alsace wine in the country for sure when I worked with Gabrielle Kreuther. So I just want to share, for those of you who haven't visited, you have to go see Anne now. Well, as soon as you can, because this is an incredible place to go to drink and eat and, you know, meet friends. It's so beautiful. But so these are some of the icon dishes that you might have with your beautiful white wine or Pinot Noir. So at the top left of this slide, Anne, I hope you think that's a good picture of back off, right? I'm saying, right? So, I mean, these are some excellent dishes. To the right is an image of tarte flambée. Amanda knows all about tarte flambée, and many of us have had many great versions of that. The bottom center is an image of choucroute, which is what we're about to make together. And then to the left, in the 1 week that I was in Alsace as a guest, and it was an incredible trip, I think that we did have, you know, pâté en croûte 7 times, and I was not mad about it. Yeah, Anne's like, oh my God. You know, and they wanted to show the American, right? This is what we're about.
I know how we are. Very generous. Eat more.
It was the best. But Anne, I will tell you, my best memory of being there was with you and with Jean, and we were tasting a vertical of Cuvée Frederic Emile, and that's when I found out I was nominated for the James Beard Award. It happened like while we were together, and my phone started exploding, and we're like, "Oh my God, what's going on? Someone died!" But so I will never forget that. But I mean, Anne, if you're ready, I think it's time. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Megan, and we're going to get this choucroute going, which takes several hours to cook, but we're all going to assemble it, those of us that are assembling it together with you. So Anya, I know that you had a really interesting music piece that has some Alsace tie-ins. We'll play that for a little bit as everybody gets a little adjusted to start the cook. Right? Ready, set, shoot.
Am I supposed to explain everything I do or not? Or what I did before?
I think we will love it. We're going to give everyone a minute and to get adjusted and then listen to this piece of music, which has something to do with Alsace. Anya's going to have to explain.
Yeah, it does.
Anya, what's the story?
So this is a piece called Au Pavilion d'Alsace. So at the Pavilion of Alsace, it was written in 1937 for the Paris Exposition. And it was actually written by a female composer. So we're celebrating wine, women, and song today, right? We have this woman who was the only female writing in this big circle of composers known as Les Six. So a classical celebration of these same things that we're seeing in food and wine today. I thought it was lovely, though. It's also a waltz. One of the main composers to come from Alsace is really known for his waltzes. He wrote things like the Skater's Waltz, which you probably have heard on New Year's Eve.
What's the name of that composer, Anya?
That composer is named Emil Waldtoy. And I can play some of his music as well if you'd like. It's very lovely, it's very classical. I am not currently sipping on these wines, but they just sound very classic in many ways, and pristine. And I think this music is too.
Anya, I think that's so fun. Thank you for putting that together for us. I think that, you know, as we, in this experience, always try to, you know, we miss being in restaurants together, we miss having brunch together. And I think a big part of a great restaurant or dining experience is not just being together eye to eye and beautiful things to drink and beautiful things to eat, but you know, the great places we've been have great music too and great ambiance. So trying to level up our virtual boozy brunch experience in 2021 with Anya's help to always have sort of great sounds in addition to great things to drink, eat, and great people to hang out with. Okay, so if everyone's ready, I know.
It looks like Anne stepped out really fast.
No
I just want to remind everyone while we're going through, use the chat box, ask all of your questions, and we can spotlight people while we're going through. You know, Anne has kind of talked a little bit already about the fact that she's 13th generation of this incredible wine family. I also read on the internet that she's called the first lady of Riesling, and that she literally grew up on a winery. So I think that we all probably have a lot of like fun questions to ask her. So don't forget to use our chat boxes as we're going through. And then once she comes back, she can start introducing us to, you know, what she's already done to set up for a setup. And then we'll go through this recipe together.
Love it. Thanks.
I'm so excited.
From my side, I've taken my potatoes and I did boil them. So those are ready to go. And then I'm gonna, am I chopping the onions, Mark? What am I doing with my onions?
Yes, you're gonna just give them a nice rough chop.
Okay.
And hopefully you have a hot pan going with your duck fat or oil or whatever you're using.
Did you do that already? Mark is always like way ahead of us all.
The magic of TV, finished, plated.
What? You're already?
Anne, what have you already done?
I've been cooking since 10 a.m.
Anne is in her kitchen. She's doing it She's doing it with us in real time. Anne, what is your first step over there?
My first step was to wash the sauerkraut, but hours ago, and then roast the onion. Then you put the sauerkraut. Then you add the spices. I did put some coriander berries, some juniper and cumin. I didn't have laurel, but you can put laurel as well if you want to. And then I made it slow.
We should talk about that for just a second, because you and I were talking about how, you know, there's lots of different versions of choucroute.
Oui. Yeah.
And we wanted to make one version where like Gewürztraminer would be a nice mix. And you said, oh, well, if we add these particular spices.
Yeah, I think so, yes. With those spices, it should work quite well.
So
and sauerkraut has always this acidity touch. So, of course, with the cooking, the longest you cook it, the better it is. The next day, it might be even better because it likes a long cooking to lose this acidity in a way, but it will always keep it, but there is a maximum you can handle, let's say. So I started hours ago, so I can show you if I unplug my computer and if I take it to here.
Perfect. Thank you.
I just added my pieces of lard fumé and lard salé. I'm not sure if bacon was the right translation, but these big pieces and one Montbéliard sausage. Well, I'm just by myself. I have a quite small pan actually, and the sauerkraut is not yellow anymore. It's caramelized. It has confit almost.
That looks amazing.
I have my potatoes. Where is my view? Yes, here. Potatoes, of course, and knack. This is this sausage. We call it knack because of the sound it makes when you. I think it's called Strasbourg sausage, probably, or something like that. And it takes time, but it's actually quite easy to make. There's nothing complex about the making. It just takes a bit of time. And I don't know if you will be able to eat quickly or not, but it's Sunday.
Okay, so Megan, where are you? I want to see Megan and Morgan. What are you guys doing right now? Are you like?
I just melted my lard. I've chopped up my potatoes. I haven't boiled them yet. I figure I'll boil them once we get close to the end, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't cook the potatoes in with everything else, right? You cook you put the potatoes
them separately, like some of the sausages. Some you can put directly in the sauerkraut. Some you don't, otherwise they will.
So I'm leaving the potatoes on the side, and I'll cook those kind of at the end when I'm ready to serve.
Yeah, then you put on a big plate everything beautifully, and you put everything together.
Awesome. So right now I'm browning. I melted the lard. I'm browning the onions, and then I'm going to start throwing some meat in, I think.
No, the sauerkraut first for a while.
Sauerkraut first? Okay.
First. And,
do you stir it all together, or do you just let the meat sit on top?
The meat on top, but 1 hour or 2 or 3 later, as long as you can, you let the sauerkraut a very long time if you can, and then or you can put the meat right away as well. But the longest it cooks, the better it is. And you put some wine on the top of the sauerkraut. You put Riesling.
When do you put the wine in? Early or at the end?
Sorry?
When do you put the wine in? How long into the cooking process?
At first, like the onions, the sauerkraut, and then right away you put some wine.
Perfect.
At the same level of the sauerkraut, let's say. So it's really deeply wet. It has to be deeply wet, and then the alcohol will evaporate with time. But you close your pan a little bit. You let it open just a bit.
I'm so bad because I love cooking with wine, but I hate cooking with good wine because I'm always so sad. I'm so sad to give up some of this Gewürztraminer because it's so tasty.
But the good wine makes it taste better. I'm using. So I gave all the gals who did a box with us lard, and then I have some duck fat, so I think I'm going to use it. Right, Mark's applauding.
Fat in too.
Right. And then I'm going to brown my onions. Amanda, did you get started on your whole stitch over there? What's happening?
Oh yeah, I have my helper Billy. So Billy is the best, is over there chopping stuff. I randomly bought duck fat the other day just to have. So I did your lard, duck fat. We got it going, and then we're gonna put the onions in.
We did a little different, the group over here. So per Anne, which was very smart, I gave everybody like caraway seeds, juniper berries. There's cumin. There's a little bit of cardamom just to try to get the spices so that this whole thing could be really Gewürztraminer friendly. But Anne, so we all researched a bunch of different charcuterie recipes, and they were all completely different, right? Like per family.
It's a family secret and recipe. You have different ways to do it, and sometimes you go into another family and they make their choucroute and you're surprised, like, oh, you do like this? Oh, okay.
Right? I mean, you had a version too where there's like chicken, mushrooms, cream. I mean, so many different incarnations, right?
No. That's what I sent you.
That was something different.
Another recipe on the right side, and I was confused myself at first. I was like, choucroute and cream and mushrooms. No. It was the end corner of another recipe, and I took a picture without mentioning it. I'm sorry.
Okay. I thought that was cool. I'm like, oh, you can do really whatever you want.
as long as it is good.
And then, Anne, okay, so let's talk about these classic dishes, but also for those who maybe haven't visited Alsace yet, you absolutely should. So this region has the most Michelin stars, right, of any region in France, almost. Like, it's insane, the quality of the restaurants there. It's nuts.
For sure, yes. It's
unbelievable. Yeah, like the food quality is unbelievable. And I do feel as if you get off the plane and then you take the TGV and you go straight to Alsace. So when I went, we got off at Colmar, of course, and we rented the only non-stick shift car. It was an automatic. It was the only one they had. And like drove everywhere. And I mean, every single thing we ate was like amazing. And I felt like everywhere we went also smelled like pain d'épices, which also reminds me of the wines a little bit. Like, why is the food so good there?
Good question. But it's true. We are spoiled with the food scene. We have the restaurants, the quality. Yes. Yeah. It's a region to go when you love food and wine, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just
in life, at least.
Okay, so Anne, so for the choucroute, like some of the other things that people might put in it. So all the different types of sausages, of course, and boudin, like
boudin noir, yes, blood sausage, if people like that. Some people put cervelas. Yes. Yes, in the US, I don't know exactly which sausages types you can find. So actually the sausages you like, it can be white sausage as well. Depends what you like. So your preference and
like all sausages.
Sorry?
All of them.
All of them, yes.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, we put together. So Anne, just so that you know, this is what we did. So we have
woo! Oh oui.
So we have like Thüringer, we have a Strasbourg sausage type, but we also put for the big pieces of the like jarre de veau kind of thing, we did that. And then we had at Paulina Meat Market, they have smoked pork chops. So we have sort of the smoky flavors like in Pinot Gris. So we're putting everything.
No problem, yes.
Yeah.
The more there is, the longest it cooks. Voila.
No and then basically we're doing the big pieces of meat in the pot with the on top of the sauerkraut and the onions and all that good stuff. And then the sausages and the potatoes are on the side, and those get to be added on after.
Yes, it depends which sausages, but you can boil all of them actually. Yes, it works.
Because some of them are pre-cooked, right? So you don't want to like overcook and that kind of stuff.
Yes, and they will explode. If you put them too long in the sauerkraut, they will like
not good, no explosions. But I do like your tip, the note that said if the choucroute, like if the sauerkraut is a bit caramelized, it makes it even more delicious. I think that's
I do believe so. Then again, question of taste. Some people like it more acidic and white and very like, oh, I like it caramelized because I've been used to that all my life. My mom makes it so. My dad is not happy if it's not caramelized enough.
Wait, so Anne, can we talk about that for a minute? So I love all the pictures of the current sort of the TRIMBACH family that's involved in the business. It's always like a bunch of guys who I've met and are lovely, wonderful people. And you.
Not only since you came to Alsace, I've seen you in Chicago. But there have been new additions. My sister is in as well now, and she's been there for the last 5 years.
So cool.
My cousin Julien has been here for, I never know, but I would say 6 or 7 years now at least. And he's been trained in the vineyards, and he's been trained in the cellar, and he's going to be the next winemaker. He's still learning, of course. He's been to Chicago once because I was pregnant, so he replaced me. So maybe some people have met Julien.
Yeah.
And my cousin Pauline is joining us as well at the end of, actually at the beginning of this month. And she's gonna take over France. And yes, it's gonna be 4 of us in our generation.
Wow. I mean, that's really cool. I think it's so rare that, you know, there's so much family involvement, and it's so cool. I love to see the women, of course, like that's really, really awesome. Wait, let's go back.
It's more women than men, actually, this generation. 3 women, 1 man. It's never happened. It's it's great. I'm not a feminist, but I like the way it is as well right now. I mean,
also, Morgan, what's your question at the moment?
Yeah, so I was wondering, I know we're supposed to cook it on low for the next couple of hours, but do you prefer to leave it on the stove top on low or pop it in the oven? And if it's the oven, what should I heat my oven to?
Aha.
That's a multi-part question, I'm sorry.
No problem. It's just temperatures in France and the US, and so on. But I've never done it in the oven, and again, it's my first chocolate ever, so I make it now. But I would say in the oven, not more than 180 degrees Celsius.
80 degrees Celsius. So
180.
300.
Okay.
300 Fahrenheit.
And I gotta say, even though this is your first time making it,
and for a while, as long as you can.
I'm gonna mute everybody because somehow we ended up with some rock and roll. So everybody who would like to speak, you have to unmute yourself. And there we go. Voila. Megan, there you go. I'm caramelizing my sauerkraut. That's what I'm doing.
Yes, I know that you said this is your first time making it, but I think you picked the exact perfect place and the right group of people to make it with.
Yeah.
Because over here at Boozy Brunch, we like to wing it and we like to experiment a little bit. So anything that you're teaching us is amazing.
We're so excited. I'm putting more duck fat. I don't think I put enough.
I just put like 3 spoonfuls of bacon fat in there. I'm like, what's it gonna hurt?
Oh, I forgot to put in the bacon. Oops. I'll put that in too.
Never too late.
And we always laugh. Oh my God, hers looks so good.
Wow.
We always laugh because, you know, we've had a lot of like famous bartenders and mixologists, and they come and they measure everything super precise. And I like to make a cocktail without measuring, just, you know, figure it out.
Well, and half the time, you know, we try to, as much as we can, us regular people, to get, you know, all of the cool supplies and things like that. But a lot of times we're just kind of making it up and we're improvising, or we're asking questions like, what can we substitute? What's similar to this? You know, so it's kind of fun to have the leeway to kind of be creative while we're making something really, really special that runs in your family.
Wine is so good, it don't matter.
Oh, good. And I have a question for you, and we're going to get a little personal if you don't mind. So I just wanted to find out, I mean, during the pandemic, you are a mother, you have a child, yes, you are a working winemaker in a winemaking family in Alsace. Tell us, how has your life had to pivot? Tell us, like, what is the normal situation? And then tell us now, what are you doing differently since the pandemic?
So I am not the winemaker, it's still my dad and it will be my cousin, but I still work in a small family winery where you need to be able to do a bit of everything in a way, but we are kind of specialized, and my role has always been to travel and to spread the message. And let's say that my last travel export-wise was in Norway in the middle of February last year, and since then it's been impossible to get out, impossible to go nowhere.
Yeah.
we've seen, unfortunately, the restaurants closed for many months in a row. Our biggest clientele in France are restaurants. Well, so we try to find new ideas, or not solutions, but new ideas to make it work. And it came to me. I didn't have to find it out, but I do lots of Zoom. Like, this is the first time I do something like that with a cooking and blah blah blah, many people at the same time.
Yeah.
But basically, yes, I do Zoom. I use Zoom very often to reach out to people, and sometimes it's amazing how many people at the same time you can gather.
Exactly.
They are listening to you, and I had a nice Zoom with 300 Swedish people one night, and I could see everybody in the sofa eating terrine, pâté, foie gras, cheese, whatever, with the wine. And they were showing their interiors to me, and it was very, very unique. And that's the only way to do it right now. And even if we wanted to, nobody would welcome us. Everybody is a bit afraid or whatever. You don't know exactly, you don't know where to go. So, but we try to invent new ways to communicate with people as much as we can. And I enjoy it. You know, I'm here now on a Sunday night. I have to be home at 6 o'clock in the evening anyway. Otherwise, you get a ticket or whatever. So it's a good way to spend my night.
Right. And are you now a home teacher for your daughter? How's that working?
The schools are open, so I'm glad, because they can also socialize, not only like learn, but also see some friends and young. They need to see that. So schools are still open. I mean, hopefully they won't close again, but it's been the case for, well, 2 months. I can't remember. This has been so long. And, so a new job right now, but very, very quiet. I mean, very slow, very.
Yeah.
I have more time.
That's good though. I think that's really kind of wonderful.
It's dangerous.
So fun. Okay, so Megan, I don't know, for those cooking out in, virtual Zoom land, I'm still caramelizing my sauerkraut. So I'm not probably going to assemble for a little bit, because now I'm determined, and I'm going to have caramelized sauerkraut.
It would make your dad proud.
Don't forget to put some wine.
Yeah, I will put some wine. I'm going to get it totally right.
And the wine will disappear at some point, and that's when your caramelization starts, if I can say. And then if it's getting too dry, you can always add a little bit of water or something to make it, voila.
Well, I think I might be crazy. I can't decide. Like, I might put the Gewürztraminer in there just to see and have a pretty non-traditional. I actually
absolutely yes. I did a mix. I did put some Sylvaner that I opened last night, and Gewürztraminer that I opened on Friday for a Zoom with Norway. So it's also a different mix.
I love the Zoom with Norway with all their foie gras and pate. I think it's so cool. So anybody who has any questions, please pop yourself on screen. We'd love to get you to answer them. But while everybody is still in the throes of getting their choucroute ready to put in the oven, Megan, Amanda, Morgan, all the friends out there, we are playing around with, bouncing out from the main stage into rooms. And so I know that Mark Chi put together a couple of salons for us to spend a couple minutes in. So we would love for everybody to bounce out in a minute. If you want to do some wine with Claire, bounce out to Claire's wine salon. What are we trimbaching in time?
If any of you get the double entendres, please let me know, because I worked hard on these. So there's one salon called If I Can Trimbach Time.
Sure. Yeah.
The second salon is Wine If You Want To. And the third salon is Come Back to the Pork Side.
I'm going to the pork side because I'm still working on my presentation. So we're going to give everybody just a couple minutes to hang out in sort of like a little small salon, and then we'll come back because it is 1:55 and we have 5 minutes left to hang out together. Although, as everybody knows, we always hang out a little later. Mark, are those breakout rooms ready?
They're ready. Anyone can join whichever one you'd like. You just want to go down on the bottom of your menu bar and click the room that you'd like to make.
What do you want to go to? I'm going to the pork side. See ya!
And Anne will be in the TRIMBACH room if you have more questions about wine. And Anne, I'll help you get there.
I just wanted to say we're a little behind schedule, which is not very Alsatian, but I have had so much fun hanging out with Anne TRIMBACH. As always, we'll hang out a little later. If Anne's available, we'll hang out. But I did want to get back to our regular scheduled program for just a minute and share with everyone here that next week, that's your cue, Sari. We have some really fun people coming. So to the right is Reve from Simplicité. She has a really cool business doing tonics and syrups and things like that for making drinks, whether they're spirit-free or spirited. So she's going to do a little dry January kind of situation. I don't know if she's here, but we're excited to do that with her. We also have on the top left the preeminent Sri Lankan cuisine expert in America. Her name is Chef Samantha Four, and her business is called Tuk Tuk Lex, and she's in Lexington, Kentucky, and she's a super badass. And June, don't worry, I'm putting that recipe up in like 10 minutes. You will have it in advance so that we can cook with Samantha. That's her cooking on the Today Show with Tom Colicchio and just crushing the world. And then down at the bottom left, Greg, did you make it in to join us? I don't see him. That's okay. So Greg is the new Martine. So Martine Sunier, who a lot of us love so much, who's maybe one of the most amazing, Claire, back me up, women in wine in America.
Iconic powerhouse. Iconic
Powerhouse. So Greg now owns Martine's Wines, and he's going to share with us new wine called Level 4. It's IV. What is that in Roman? Someone
4, I believe.
4. Level 4. And we're going to be sharing a Melon de Bourgogne and another wine that's from this new series. It's going to be really fun. So we hope that everyone here will join us next week. And listen, that's the end. That's the end of episode 41, the TRIMBACH episode of Virtual Boozy Brunch. I love all of you. I am still caramelizing my sauerkraut. I ain't gonna stop, never settle. But all recordings are gonna stop now. And anybody who wants to hang out with us, please feel free.